Nintendo game designer Shigeru Miyamoto once said, "Video games are bad for you." That's what they said about rock and roll. Video games have long been given the reputation of being harmful for children. However, quite the opposite is true. In fact, many video games hold benefits for a child's mind, body, and social skills. Good evening, I'm Tristan Traver, and tonight I'll be speaking to you about video games and the positive effects that they have on children and adults.
Sorry for the interruption. We have a young lady who is missing. Her name is Madonna. She has red hair and a peach shirt. Please, if you would just scan your immediate area. If you see a young lady, she has red hair with a peach shirt. Her name is Madonna, and she may appear to be lost. So if you could help get her back to the commons area, we would really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Video games began in 1948 to 1958 with the invention of the Calf Road Ray Tube amusement device. This was a game that featured a missile system that fired at a target. 2 years later, Claude Shannon invented a computer program that allowed players to play chess against the computer, or the computer could play against itself. In 1952, at the University of Cambridge, 2 students designed a game of tic-tac-toe on the computer. In 1958, the game Tennis for Two was released, which allowed 2 people to enter a room and play virtual tennis on a Donner computer using 2 paddle controllers, as seen right here. As time went on, video games began to evolve. In 1970s, arcade machine came out, which featured games like Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Space Invaders. In 1968, the first home video game console was designed and released 4 years later in 1972 by Ralph Baer under the name of the Odyssey. The Odyssey sold 100,000 copies its first year of sales. Later that same year, the Atari came out, which was famous for its game Pong, which was a later version of Tennis for Two. In 1985, Nintendo came around with the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then later in 1989, they released a handheld version called the Nintendo Game Boy, which sold 150 million units worldwide. In 1990, the PlayStation was invented by a company named Sony, and then later released to America in 1995. The PlayStation featured CDs, or compact discs, which allowed for better graphics and gameplay. In 2001, Microsoft joined the gaming industry with the invention of the Xbox, which featured a hard drive for memory and a DVD drive, which allowed the player to watch movies on their Xbox as well as playing the games. These companies are still around today. Microsoft has the Xbox One, Sony has the PlayStation 4, and Nintendo has the Wii U. There are many different types of video games to go along with all the different consoles. Strategy and puzzle games are games where the player tries to defeat an enemy or solve a problem using creative thinking and strategy over statistics of the characters. Platformer games are games where the player must navigate through a level, over obstacles, and across platforms to get to the end. Massive multiplayer online games are games where servers are set up at the local, national, or international level and allow players to meet online and play against each other rather than a computer. Role-playing games are any games where a character can play, or where a person can choose the character's attributes, actions, and dialogue. First-person shooter games are games where the player is in first person, so it feels as though they're a part of the action. And arcade games are games that are coin-operated and typically last until the player runs out of lives or time. With all the variety of different video games, there are many benefits that go along with them. The physical benefits are increased eyesight, hand-eye coordination, and reflexes. A study was conducted and shown that playing video games, particularly violent video games, increase a person's ability to discern colors from each other, as well as subtle changes in the environment. By playing platformer games or games where you have to react quickly, you can increase your reflexes and your hand-eye coordination. A study was also conducted with patients with cerebral palsy that showed that after they replaced their physical therapy with a session of Wii Sports, they were more motivated and enthused about their physical therapy. These games aren't good alternatives to normal sports, but they do allow people who have never been able to play games like baseball or boxing to have that experience. There are many mental benefits that go along with video games as well. Although people associate violence with video games, there was a study conducted that showed that playing violent video games only made the patients react more negatively to the questionnaire afterwards if it was right after the session of playing and it held no long-term value. By playing puzzle and strategy games, you can increase your critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. And by playing trivia games, you can increase your overall knowledge base. The social benefits of video games are by playing online, you can meet new people and make friends if you don't otherwise have them in your hometown. You can also find a place to escape reality and find a happy place if you have troubles, schoolwork, bullies, things like that. For my product, I wrote the story to a video game. It consisted of 13 panels of story for 13 different levels, as well as 5 different pieces of concept art for the characters and the weapons, and 4 different character backgrounds for the 4 main characters. The game takes place in the mountains of Asia during the Crusades, about 1100 AD, if the apocalypse were to have happened back then. So you alternate playing between a monk, Zensu Yongsan, who is following the teachings of the monastery and trying to stop all of his Hindu gods from dying off, as the Templar Church is trying to kill them off because they view them as demons. He tends to be a bit emotional and rash whenever he finds out what's going on, which ends up causing more problems than it ends up solving with the damage that he does to the environment. Emery Garland is the knight that you play as, the other character. He's trying to impress his father, who is a knight before him in the church and well respected. So since he has all this pressure on him, he's always nervous about failure, but he follows the teachings of the Bible and tries to save the world from the apocalypse that he sees coming. They each have a partner. The knight's partner is Abigail Fletcher, an archer, who he finds in a village that's being burned down and attacked by demons. She continues to rant and rave about how important it is to find her father as you go through the game, and you soon realize that she's gone mad from all the bloodlust. The monk's partner is Feng Wei, the sole survivor of the temple that you originate from. The first level of the game, you have to leave the monastery, and when you return, you find the place in ruins, and the only survivor is Feng Wei, who explains that winged knights arrived and destroyed the place, which leads Zensu to think that Emery is the cause of all the bloodshed. The bosses that you fight throughout the game are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, pestilence, famine, war, and death, or as the monk, you'll fight them as the Hindu god form of Chamunda, Indra, Agni, and Yama. You also fight many demons along the way as the gates of hell open up from the seals of the apocalypse being broken. For the final battle of the game, the 2 armies gather at the base of the mountain where the monk lives. The monk and the knight meet each other on the mountain and begin to fight. And as they're fighting, their spirits connect and they go into a meditative stance. They emerge as one conjoined soul, and they can see all the carnage of the battle going on around them, but no one else is able to see them. They also see angels who are orchestrating the entire fight because they want the foretold apocalypse of the Bible to happen, so the second coming of Christ will arrive and they can retake earth and hell for themselves. So the final battle is against the 4 archangels, one of whom is the knight's partner, Abigail. She was pretending to be a person the entire time to lead the knight to attack the monk. The connection is that my research was over the benefits of video games, and my product was a video game that I wrote and has a lot of knowledge on the Hindu religion as well as the Christian religion and the cultural differences of each. There's also a personal connection because this is something that I plan to pursue after I graduate high school and college as storyboard writing for video games. My stretch was time management because I started the project off at the beginning of the year thinking, well, I have 6 months that I'll be able to knock this out, this will be no problem, and then all of a sudden it was February and my game wasn't finished. So I had to get on the ball, but after I got rolling, then everything seemed a lot easier and less stressful. The other problem that I had was the artwork, because I'm not much of an artist. I haven't taken an art class since 7th grade, and I have a really hard time drawing people, so I had to get help with that. So after she showed me the basics and helped me out with some of the sketches, then the artwork started going better too. In conclusion, although video games have been given the reputation of being harmful for children, there are actually many benefits for the child's mind, body, and social and emotional skills. Video games can bring children's dreams to life or create common ground for people to get to know each other. Technology is the standard of the world today, and video games were the start of that movement, as well as the indicator of the future. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes?
Where do you see video games going in the future? They've changed so much over the last few years. What do you see happening ahead of us?
The next logical step I see is virtual reality. There are several companies that have already produced virtual reality gear that allows you to see everything in the game, but not what's going on around you. I think the next step after that would be finding a way to where you can play those games without actually having to move your body, which would be nerve gear. Yes.
Who is your mentor?
My mentor was Mr. Knapp, because he has a lot of experience with Photoshop and program writing and things like that, and a very creative individual, so he helped me write some of the story and get everything running. Yes?
I have two questions, if
Okay.
that's okay. The first one is, I looked through your story. I really like all the levels. Is it your story right now? Is it more linear, or would it be in the game? Would they be able to go and have different quests other than the main quest?
For the most part right now, it's all linear, but I'm sure that as time goes on, I'm going to need more content for the game, so there'll be side quests that you can do to help people, just like clearing out villages and things like that.
And then my second question was, on the picture of the monk, I was looking at your trifold earlier. What is that? Is that a tattoo that he has?
Yeah, he has a tattoo on his chest, which is the Knot of Eternity, which is a Buddhist symbol for all things are connected. And at the end of the game, whenever the two souls merge, that's what the tattoo is there. It's to foreshadow that all things are connected.
Just to be clear, Tristan, did you draw the pictures?
No, I had the picture right here. I was almost given to me complete. I just had to do some shading and things like that. The monk was given to me. It was just the outline, and then I helped shade in, do all the facial features and things like that. And then these down here, she just gave me the background and then a rough outline of what the character, where the character would go, and then I filled in all the details in color.
Who was that?
Sarah Philpott. Yes.
So do you continue, or do you plan to continue with this to build off of it, or?
Yeah, for college I'm going to go to a creative writing major, and the last class that we have to take is writing a story and getting it published of some sort. So I would plan on taking this, and then if I can get it published, then I can possibly sell it and get some money. Yes?
Do you think you plan on maybe gearing your games towards the educational aspect? Because if you're gearing it towards a religious aspect, that's education in one sense.
Mm-hmm.
So could you gear it towards something like, oh, Assassin's Creed did a horrible job of it, the Revolutionary War or something of that nature?
Yeah, I would like to think that I could add something extra like that, teach things in a different light as I go along, because I don't want the game to be boring. So if there's something like that that makes people think, then that makes the game more enjoyable, and that's what I want, is I want people to be entertained. Yes?
Through this, what have you learned about yourself that you didn't know?
I have more artistic ability than I thought, but not as much as I would hope. Also learned that I'm pretty bad at time management, so I've really got to get on the ball and stop procrastinating things.
Have you ever done any computer code writing or anything like that?
No, I have. I've put together a computer, but I haven't done any programming or anything like that. It's just not my forte.
And I'm not, have they done any research on online bettors or anything that get into the multiplayer thing?
Not in the research that I was looking at, because I focused on just the benefits of what the games can actually do for physical benefits and mental benefits, and the social benefits were more of for an individual who has a bad social life outside of gaming.
Would it be, I'm just trying to think how, would it be easy to do that or not easy, or?
To get the research for it?
No, I mean, I guess that you'd have to be proficient in the game to actually get in there enough to make a connection with younger people, wouldn't you, as if you were an online predator. I'm just asking that, but I was just curious about that. Probably wouldn't be as much as just regularly online social networking or something.
All right, thank you.